I'm Manus Cranny in Dubai. Joining me now for the next conversation is the new chairman of Swiss Re. It is Sergio Ermotti. And the title of our panel, Sergio, is Counting the Cost of Mega Hacks. So you're now the chair of a pretty big reinsurance company. I just want you to set the stage for our global audience about your sense of the scale of cyber risk that there is out there, the cost of the mega hack. Do we really understand the scale of risk?
Well, I think more and more, it's almost inevitable that societies, companies, and the political world understand and the necessity to tackle this even more and more increasing risk. And in that sense, I think that the awareness is there. If all the actions necessary to fix the problem are in place, that's a separate topic. But in a world that is becoming more and more digitalized, it's quite critical to address this aspect of the risk posed by technology, which is coming with a lot of opportunities, but of course, as I say, also risks.
Well, let's just talk about the boardroom. Obviously, having sat as a CEO for a long period of time, now as a chairman, do you get a sense that boards globally are cognizant enough of cyber risk?
Well, look, first of all, let's start with what management has to do and boards have to do. I think that if you look at in general, according to many surveys, but also from my own experience, the topic of cyber risk has taken a big part of the agenda when we talk about operational risks within any organization. I think nowadays it's probably only second to the pandemic risk and the foreseeable probably potential slowdown in the economies. But from a operational standpoint of view, it's very important to think about cyber risk as a way to protect yourself, not only against the possibility of not being able to serve your clients, but also think about the reputational risk associated with being affected by a cyber attack. So management and boards more and more are thinking about those topics. Of course, the learning curve is very steep. Not always you have a situation where board members and in general management are fully aware of the complexities, but particularly when you talk about large organizations, there is increased awareness of the topic. Maybe there is a need to make sure that SMEs and other players are coming up to the same level of awareness.
And obviously the work from home scenario is now part of our lives. How we work, how that blended model develops is, I suppose, anybody's guess really at the moment. But that digitization has accelerated in 2020 through 2021 in the work from home. And that brings a new level of risk. Are your customers now coming to you with new inquiries? Is the scale of investigation about work from home and the risks associated with it top of the agenda?
Well, yes, of course, this is, as I mentioned, more and more relevant topic we discuss with clients and we can see in our own life. Well, of course, COVID has accelerated the digital transformation and many people working from home has created opportunities, but also has created, the awareness by not only the institutions that are giving those tools to their employees to serve clients, but also by criminals to exploit opportunities. And so there is an awareness, there is a necessity to protect yourself, not only through pure insurance, but also through very elementary practices in terms of how to have the right hygiene around your environment in how you operate.
When we look at the world, we're constantly trying to assess. You said that obviously COVID is there and a mega hack is up there in the echelons of 1, 2, 3 of risks. I look at Lloyd's, they are insuring, as it were, the backstop fund, the central fund. So they're insuring themselves against a pretty big event. What does that say to you about the risk of a major global, I suppose, tail risk?
Well, in general, I can't really comment about the specific, but nowadays, risks like in the cyberspace, for example, are very, very hard to predict. If you think about the cyber risk industry for an insurance company, we estimate that Swiss Re that is about 7 billions of premium per annum. In historical terms, this was a benign business where you would get decent returns. Nowadays, I would say probably the situation has become more problematic. We do expect the insurance pool for cyber risk to increase by threefold, almost to 20 billions by 2025. But of course, all those risks cannot always be fully covered, and therefore there is a necessity for all the players in the market to cover tail risks. And by the way, this solution you mentioned is a good example on how the system is able to come up with innovative solutions to diversify risks among different players.
But it's obviously got consequences as well about writing a profitable book at Swiss Re. As you sit into the chair now, how much of your time is taken up with the board talking about perhaps the risk models, how you adapt and how you change in this environment about writing a profitable book?
Well, a lot across the board in all risks, not only on cyber. You need to take, not only an historical view of patterns of different data that were contributing in a very important way to the modeling of risks and therefore premiums. You need to take a forward-looking view that is also changing constantly. Cyber, as we mentioned, is one example, but if you think of climate change and other aspects of our economy and societies, there is more and more a necessity to really recalibrate the weighting of historical data versus forward-looking data in any model.
When I think of cyber attacks, mega attacks, this year alone, Sergio, my own home country, the health service in Ireland, held to ransom. The Colonial Pipeline on the eastern states of the United States held to ransom. Now, these are sort of very visual perceptions of the mega attack. Do you think we've had some wake-up calls globally this year about what could go wrong?
Yes, usually, look, the cyber risk and claims industry, some people estimate brings claims for around $1 trillion a year, which is probably on the conservative side if you think about the fact that according to some data, only 100 billion of that would come from Germany, so maybe it's even too low. So, but to answer your question, I think that every time phenomenon is touching the lives of people out there. For example, you talk about a pipeline that is affecting oil prices and or potentially in the future power supply. It increases not only the attention of consumer and people, but also of politicians, and therefore we become more and more aware that the need of governments to think about policies that are allowing the private and the public sector to cooperate on how to tackle those risks is very important. It's all about infrastructure, and I'm not surprised to see the U.S. Talking about those kind of issues as a matter of national security. So you will see more and more governments also stepping in as a consequence of this kind of attacks.
Well, I suppose that takes us back to the conversation between Putin and Biden, really resetting the cyber agenda, one could say. When you saw that making the headlines, Sergio, what does that say to you about that government reset or that statehood reset on risk?
Well, look, the issue is without going into conspiracy theories about how those things work, it's a matter of fact that there are criminals out there searching for opportunities, or just maybe even only people that they are not just criminal in terms of trying to extract economic value, people who have an ideology or terrorism as a matter of their targets. So I think that is, it's not surprising at all that when we talk about security and geopolitics, cyber and this kind of risk are coming up in the agenda. At the end of the day, technology is another way to conduct, potentially create damages to economies and countries. So I think it's actually, in that sense, maybe the issue that we saw with the colonial was a good wake-up call that allowed us at a relatively modest price to get even more attention to the topic.
Sergio Ermotti, Swiss Re Chairman, thank you very much for joining us today at the Qatar Economic Forum. We'll see you soon. Sergio Ermotti.